All right, let's go ahead and start things off. Welcome to today's support webinar on installing SSL commercial certificates. Our presenter today is Rick King, and he's going to introduce himself and all of his credentials here in a moment. We also have John Hurley, our Senior Support Manager, on the line. So if you have questions during the webinar, please feel free to pop them into either the Q&A panel or the chat panel, and John and I will be monitoring those as we go. We will have time for Q&A at the end as well, but feel free to pop them in throughout the presentation. We also are recording today, so we will have this available to watch it later. And I think that's all I needed to say. Go ahead, Rick, take it away.
Thanks, Gail. My name is Rick King, and we're talking about installing commercial SSL certs. And a little about me. I'm from Star, Idaho. Been with Zimbra since 2007. I have roughly over 500 cases dealing with SSL certs. What we're going to talk about today is obviously installing and replacing commercial SSLs, either for a single domain or multiple. But we won't be talking about SSL ciphers or PCI compliance for corporate security. That might be a topic for another webinar some other day. I think when it comes to commercial certificates, a lot of folks seem to have problems with it. They just don't know. It's either like, help, I just ordered a new certificate and I don't know what to do, or I've attempted to install the commercial certificate, but now I'm getting an error. Those are kind of like the two basic roadblocks that people seem to run into. So, okay, so let's get started. So what's the first thing we need to do? We need to create a CSR file, which is a certificate signing request. Basically, it just contains your organization name, common name, domain, your country. Basically, this is just a security file to verify this is who you are. So here is a basic command. If you run the ZM Cert Manager tool with the option Create CSR, with the option Commercial, New, Key Size, just your basic command here. And one thing to keep in mind, when you run this command, the Cert Manager tool, to create the CSR, the commercial key, the commercial.key file will be created at the same time as your CSR file. That's an important thing to note. So after you create the CSR file, you can look at it and just verify that the information in it is correct. And what I usually tell people is use the OpenSSL command, and here's an example here, the OpenSSL with the rec option. And when the CSR is correct, you send it to your CSA, and here's a little screenshot. I apologize if it's not clear, but here you can see the country, the state, organization name, the common name, and down below you see the DNS name or names if you have multiple names specified. I won't read this off verbatim, but basically a CSA is just an organization like GoDaddy or DigiCert or Thoughts that verifies your CSR credential. So once you've created your CSR and you send it to your CSA and you get your certificate back, when your CA, your certificate authorizer, your CA, sends you your new cert, they should also send over the accompanying root CA file and or, if needed, intermediate file. Sometimes they don't do this always. I don't know why. But you know, if you're ordering a new certificate, make sure to ask them, okay, ask them for the root CA file and intermediate file if needed. And sometimes you might even need a third file to complete the chain, which is called a cross-reference file. But once you get your new certificate file, here's an open SSL command to open it, just to look at it. It's the open SSL with the option X509 with the .in. Your certificate name with the no out and text options. Okay, so this is kind of like a double check. I'm just kind of going over some of the checks that I usually go through when I help people get their certificates installed. I usually run the open SSL commands to verify the checksums. And here's a couple examples. If you run the open SSL with the RSA option, and here's the modulus option is probably what you'll need to verify the checksums. So here's a couple examples here. The top one is you're checking the key file. Remember, the key file is created at the very same time when you create your CSR file. And if you the command down below, you're using the OpenSSL command with the X509 option to check the checksums again. And here, you know, these two lines where it shows the standard in, these two checksums should be matched. They should be the same. So once you have your new SSL certificate, do you need to do anything else? Okay, so this is the part where we talk about your CA bundle file, your commercial bundle file. And basically what you do is you concatenate, you join together the root CA file along with your intermediate file, or if there's a third file to complete the chain, the cross-reference file. So if you look at the command in blue here, this is the command to build your bundle file. It's really easy. And just remember, when you concatenate the bundle file for the commercial bundle, the root CA will be at the very top of the file, and followed by the intermediate. Now, here's a real important command here in blue, the OpenSSL verify. I use this all the time when I help people with their SSL certs. It's the OpenSSL verify with the CA option. And here I'm indicating the bundle first, then along with the new SSL cert. So if all is well, when you run that command, the output should show okay. And this is where I kind of indicate you should see this. Okay? And here's an example of concatenating multiple files, the root, the intermediate. And here, when you look at the bundle file, and this happens quite a bit when people concatenate, the end certificate and begin certificate are on the same line, and that's not correct. So it's just kind of like you have to visually inspect the commercial bundle file. So here, yeah, make sure it's not on the end certificate and begin certificate are not on the same line, but they are on different lines down below. So once you have your SSL cert and your CA chain bundle, and now you're ready to install. This is we're ready to install. We're just going to verify the first command here with the ZM Cert Manager. You're using the verify cert command option, along with the COMM option to indicate commercial, obviously. And yeah, this is all in one line. This is one big line here, command line. I just, I had to make, in order to, I didn't want to make it all one line in the presentation because it was just, you wouldn't be able to see it. But yeah, this is all in one line to verify. And once you're verified, and then you just deploy, and this is where they make the check for the commercial key and the certificate, make sure that the checksums match. And once you deploy, you can just view real quick, view deployed CRT all, and restart. And we get asked this a lot in a multi-node setup. You know, which node to install the new SSLs onto, and usually it's the public-facing nodes like the proxy or MTA. So here's an example. You know, my little my little graph here. You know, the internet, this is kind of like the internet making requests for the secure HTTPS. And where it shows mail.example.com, that's the proxy or MTA. Or if it's the same node, it's the proxy and MTA. And from there, that's where the requests are routed to, you know, the end user's mailbox. Okay, so right now we're going to talk about the multiple domain SSL certs. I like examples because of there's a lot of steps involved. I'm just going to use the example of yyz.com, you know, to illustrate here in blue. And for the multiple domain certs, if you have multiple domains, you can just, hopefully this will help you out here. So in the first command, you just modify the domain and you update the Zimbra virtual host name with the public host name. And here this is where you create the temporary directory for the domain. And here we're talking about creating a directory in /temp with the yyz.com domain. And this is where you save your certificates, your key file, and your chain files in this directory. So when you look inside the directory, this should be the key file. And this is the key file that when you created your CSR file, you can take that commercial key and rename it or copy it into this directory. Then below is your new certificate. Here it's annotated by yyz.com.crt, and along with the CA's root and intermediate files as well. In step number 4, add the chain certs to a single file. This is the bundle file. So again, you know, you're concatenating the root CA file along with the root, or along with the CA intermediate to create a bundle. And this is again, you have to watch for the end certificate and begin certificate lines as well. Just visually, make sure you visually inspect the commercial bundle file. Then confirm if the key and certificate match and the chain certs complete the trust. So what you can do is to use the ZM Cert Manager tool again to verify CRT commercial option. And make sure you use the complete path. Here we're using /temp, yyz.com. Then you indicate the commercial key file, the certificate file, and lastly, the bundle file, all in one line again. Then here, number 6, add this domain certificate and chain files to a single file called your domain or yyz.com.bundle. Then you use this new tool called ZM Domain Cert Manager. This is the tool for deploying the SSLs for each domain. So here you're using the ZM Cert Manager tool with the option of save CRT, your domain. In the example here, we're using yyz.com. So use this save CRT option with your domain, your bundle, and your key file. And once that is saved, that saves in LDAP under for the domain settings. Then run the following to deploy the domain: the ZM Domain Certificate Manager, deploy CRTS, and also check for the global attribute of Zimbra reverse proxy SNI enabled true. If you have multiple nodes, you can just run that on the proxy or on a single server. So yeah, with this method here, with the multiple domains, there's a lot of files to kind of keep track of. So it's a little bit complex, but it can be done. You just have to kind of organize your files and make sure the files that you have are the correct ones. All right, so this is kind of like a new kind of like concept, or not really concept, but this is something in support we don't really talk about. Is when you're having multiple domains in the same setup, you can use what's called a UCC certificate file, and the biggest advantage is that you don't need to mess with creating a temporary domain directory to get all your files in the directory. Here in this example here, I'm using colors here to illustrate. All these domains are in the same setup, but I'm going to just create one gigantic CSR file for all these domains with the host names in them. Okay. So here in this example, we're using the ZM Cert Manager tool with the option Create CSR, just like before. But if you look at the hyphen subject alt names, you'll notice, okay, I have my host names in them. And here, this is a little bit different here. I'm using the hyphen no default subject alt name, which basically means if you do not want to include the host name in the certificate, you just want the public facing host names, you just use the no default subject alt name. So as mentioned before, this is your CSR. You send your CSR to your CA, and after receiving your new SSL cert, you can verify again. Now, the biggest thing about UCC is you have to contact your CA to make sure that they support the UCC option? And if they do, what are the restrictions? That's the only kind of like check you have to make on yourself. Make sure your CA supports this UCC concept. I think if you have a lot of domains, you have multiple domains in the setup, and this is probably the way to go. That way you're not messing with a whole lot of files and key files and directories for multiple domains. You're just doing all in one. This is probably what I would suggest. Okay, so troubleshooting. There's really not much to troubleshooting. I think the biggest thing is that people get tripped up on creating the bundle file. They don't know what is the root CA and what is the intermediate, and it's not like the CAs make it easy to verify. So these are a couple of the errors that you see here. So basically, this is the error is the same if you're running the OpenSSL at the very top here. I'm using the OpenSSL Verify again, but maybe I'm using the wrong CA cert bundle. And this is typically, you'll get this unable to get local issuer. And again, if you use the ZM Cert Manager tool, and if you verify again, which basically does the same thing as the OpenSSL Verify. Basically, it's just it's the commercial bundle file where the CA files they might be in the wrong order, or there are blank lines. Yeah, make sure there's no blank lines in the commercial bundle file. Or if the bundle file is not 509 formatted. We see this a lot too. Unmatching certificate. I've seen this a lot where people will use the verify option, but they see the unmatching certificate. Basically, it's the commercial key and the supposed new SSL certificate. They're not matching checksums, and somehow it's the wrong commercial key was placed in the directory, or it's the wrong server cert. All right, so a lot of sites, they do not know that they need the root or intermediate CA files. And this is going back to, people don't know what they don't know. So if you order a new SSL certificate, be sure to ask for the root CA file and intermediate file. And for whatever reason, I've seen this a lot, where people will order the new SSLs and they get them emailed back, but there's no root CA file for whatever reason. I would like to know what people do when this happens. I mean, I'm not sure if it's the order form, if there's a checkbox you need to select to get those files. And here's a quick OpenSSL command, the OpenSSL s_client connect option. Verify, return OK. And if you can't find the root CA or intermediate CA, usually on the sites like DigiCert, they have this live chat link. You can use that to find out where to find the root and intermediate. I think it's fair to say that they don't make it very easy to find those, at least DigiCert. GoDaddy is actually pretty easy to install. They're usually pretty good about sending the root or intermediate. So after the SSLs are installed. You know, you can usually restart the proxy or mailbox D services, or, you know, when in doubt, you can just do a resume control restart. Should be fine. I thought I mentioned this, but I've only run into this one time, believe it or not, where somebody had a host name of mail.domain.com, but they ordered, for whatever reason, the mail.subdomain.com file. I just thought I'd mention this because this might be a factor if you're running into this. If you have like subdomains, you might want to check that. Okay, so hopefully I didn't go too fast. Are there any questions? This will be recorded, so we'll have this up available. And actually, I'll put this on my personal wiki sandbox as well.
So Mark Stone, if you look in the chat, has a question. Error 19 self-signed certificate and certificate chain.
I think I've seen that before. I think what happens is I've seen this before where another instance where the new SSL cert was actually added to the chain bundle. I can check, Mark, I can check later on that if you like. There was a question about, I like to use local domains. Mark, if you're talking, I cannot hear you. Sorry. Someone was asking about local domains for my hosts. Yeah. I think there's an option in when you're upgrading, there's an option to not verify. Hang on. Let me look. John, do you know the answer to that? There's an option in this install script where you don't have to verify the host names.
During the installation, yes, you can skip that.
Yeah, you can skip. Yeah, usually on the upgrades, you can skip the verifications. Yeah, so if you're using like the .local domain suffix, yeah, you can skip the checks. Okay, so someone's asking about we use star certificate from GoDaddy. GoDaddy is actually pretty good about sending their accompanying root and intermediate. Brian, do you know what errors you're getting? Okay, so as far as like the local domain suffix, I think what you can do, I'll just put it in the chat here. There's an option in the upgrade where if you do the install.sh, you can use the -- skip upgrade check. That way, it won't verify the host names. You can just continue on with the upgrade. Okay, so for that domain, for SubUs, you should be able to use the skip upgrade check. So yeah, I think I'm not sure about root CAs being self-signed or not. I would think, but maybe not. You know, like I said, I'll post this on my personal sandbox, this PDF, and Gail's going to post. Are there any more questions?
Rick, did you see the question from Sebastian? He wanted to know your thoughts about good practice, what you would recommend for using host names that match the public domain names. You may have already answered that.
Yeah, if they're using like the .local domain suffix, you could just use the skip upgrade check.
And Brian would like to know where to find your personal sandbox.
Oh, okay, yeah. I will post it in. That'll be going up later on today. Any plans for having SNL? I believe that is, let me look. I think that's upcoming. Yeah, that's still on the horizon, Sebastian. I'll put that in. We have a bug annotated for that. Gail, if there's no other questions.
Yeah, I was just going to put out the last call. Yeah, I think all the questions are answered in the Q&A and chat panel, so this is the last call for questions. Well, Rick, thank you so much for such a great presentation today. Thank you, everybody who dialed in and spent your time with us today. And I will have this posted on the YouTube channel. So thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.